Hey everybody, I'm Katallina, and today we're here to talk about episode 4 of The Strongest Magician in the Demon Lord's Army Was a Human. If I had to pick one word to describe the overall themes and ideas of this episode, it would absolutely be surprise. Because first up, I'm surprised at just how good this episode was, and I'm surprised at how coherently a single word is actually able to capture so many different and interesting things that happened. Let's get into this. The first surprise that we really have in this episode is the surprise that Cefiro is actually going to have Ike be her representative for this challenge that she is facing. Now, it does make sense in the context of the story since Ike is the main character, but given that Cefiro is a demon and that she has demon traits, whether or not she actually likes Ike the human, it's very surprising to see a demon actually let someone else take control of their life like that, to see her put her life in his hands. I don't necessarily know if that is a surprise for Cefiro because she's already rather unique, but it was an interesting twist and something that definitely caught me off guard and that I thought made for interesting writing because, as a general, Ike is very used to the idea of being in charge of other people and their lives being his responsibility. But those people are generally people who are fighting for him and whom have pledged some kind of loyalty to him and to the demon army. Whereas in this situation, Ike is actually fighting for the right to live of his superior. And he's fighting for somebody who he knows has not committed a wrong and who is actually speaking up against someone who has actually committed true evil. While on one hand we can argue the idea that that kind of concept is foreign and strange within the realm of demons, since Ike is a human, it makes more sense that he would potentially think about things that way. The second surprise that we get in this episode is the idea that Ike actually knows about and remembers how guns work, and more importantly, how they are made. And it's really interesting to see how the characters in this world react when we get access to guns and they actually get to test them and see how things go. I think it's very interesting also that we are seeing guns within fantasy period. It's not something I see very often, and normally I'm actually very opposed. But in this situation, I actually think it went very well, and I think it worked with the construct of how the story is working and how the characters behave. So it was actually pretty okay. Surprise number 3, which was absolutely my favorite, hands down, was the reality that not only did the Demon Lord catch us without the mask on, coming out of the bath, which was hilarious in and of itself, but also that it's not just that she recognizes us, whether it's through our voice or whatever else, but that she has known all along that Ike is a human, and she has been willing to accept that reality and willing to let him work for her, even though he didn't know that she was aware of this knowledge. It was actually given to her by his mentor. Not the girl that we see in the show, but the gentleman that raised him. And I think that that's really interesting. I like the fact that she implies the idea that she thinks that Ike is going to work very hard for her, and that she accepts that, and that she doesn't seem to really care whether he is a human or a demon, only that she actually cares about whether he has loyalty toward her, period. It was also really cool that she actually is the person who gives us the guns, because we go to Cefiro and try to get them made, and Cefiro is like, what the fuck do you want? What is that? Like, she's confused. But the Demon Lord understands completely and actually just shows up and drops them at our feet. That was not something I was expecting, and I think that it was very interesting and very clever. The last surprise that we have in this episode, which was an absolute cliffhanger and a jaw-dropping moment in my opinion, was the fact that while the Demon Lord did successfully catch the arrow that was fired at her after the whole confrontation ended and she was prepared to punish the Dullahan that we had been competing against, that catching the arrow was not enough, and that on the end of that arrow there was an explosive, and that explosive just potentially turned the Demon Lord into itty-bitty little bite-sized pieces. We're gonna have to see just what will actually go down in this show during the next week and see, did she survive? Did she not survive? What's gonna happen now that they are questioning whether she survived? Will this prick become the new Demon Lord, and how will that affect Ike if that happens? Or will something happen where Ike will challenge him and take him out? Will the Demon Lord actually be dead or be safe or whatever? There are so many possibilities, and it's going to be really interesting to see just what path this show will actually take, because there is such a broad variety of things that could actually happen. But it definitely made for a hell of a cliffhanger, and it definitely makes me very eager for next week. Which ties in beautifully to the fact that I thought this episode was absolutely excellent. I think this has been a really fun watch, and this episode kicked everything I like about this anime up a notch. The design was beautiful. The choreography for the arena fight was pretty solid. Like, not the fastest or flashiest fight I've seen, but it worked out really well, and it made an interesting highlight of the guns and of the planning that went into the fight, which, considering that Ike's big thing is that he is a tactician, made perfect sense for his character and for how his story would work. And we got that amazing cliffhanger. So, you've heard my thoughts on this. What did you guys think of this episode? I'd love to know, so drop a comment below, and I'll talk to you in the next video. See you later. Bye!